So for the Holiday Pop Culture Fest that is coming up on December 14th, I was asked to create the poster for it. And the idea behind it was that it was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but featuring Deadpool. So to make this poster a reality, I started with, of course, downloading the official poster of the movie featuring Chevy Chase, and then importing that into Procreate and using Chevy Chase as my base to draw Deadpool. And because it's an homage to the poster, I wanted to keep the house and the presents, everything around, so people would automatically realize just what was being homaged. Most everyone has actually gotten it right off the bat. So, started in Procreate, laid everything out just using a basic HB pencil, and I like to do all of my sketching with red lead. That's a carryover from my days of traditional drawing. I've always used red lead instead of non-repo blue. So then, once I got everything laid out, I used the Tech Pen for all of my inking in Procreate. So the Tech Pen is for all of Deadpool here, and I was on a time crunch. I think I had 2 days to get this poster done. So I only drew Deadpool's left side, our right side, his left side. I only drew it, and then maybe some of his little different bits and parts to his costume, because I was just going to cut him in half, flip him, and call it a day. And as you can see, his left side is pretty much completely drawn in, and his right side is just a basic outline where his costume parts are going to, where it kind of differs from side to side. Then I just used I got a little creative with the Christmas lights, the wires going around them. And I did not draw the light bulbs in Procreate. I was not drawing 4 dozen light bulbs individually. I just did not have the time for it. So what I did, I saved those for Photoshop. I was going to do it in Illustrator, but again, time crunch. So Photoshop, drew it once, duplicated it 48 times or 50, whatever, how many there are, and just rotated them to fit the direction they needed to be, depending on how the wire was facing. And I believe I actually colored the first bulb so that I could go back in as I moved them around. I was going to do multicolored lights, so I colored the first bulb so then I could go in and just hue, saturate, change the bulb color. But it turned out having multiple colors was just overpowering. It was too much for the image, so I left them all just a solid orange color. It just worked aesthetically better. So once Deadpool was drawn in Procreate, I exported the PSD into Photoshop, and then I laid in my flat colors and began rendering. Now the line art part of this took a little over 6 hours. The coloring was with flatting was about 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe. Flatting took probably 45 minutes. Once I had the flat colors in, it was pretty easy. You can see here, when I'm coloring, I use a brush, it's like a textured airbrush, and it's set to screen with like 50% opacity and 50% flow, usually around that setting. And then with screen, I just highlights. And with this being set to screen, it just increases the saturation of wherever I'm coloring. And since he's red, I actually was using an orange color to generate the highlights. Instead of just using the color picker, I like to just shift the hues a little bit when doing shadows and highlights. So orange for the highlights, brush set to screen. Slowly using the lasso tool to make my selections, cut and grad style, working my way up, and then lots of highlights because he's getting electrocuted. I thought it would just be neat Okay, so now, as we're moving along here, I have the line art on a layer by itself. So instead of having like the white paper texture and the black lines, I've separated that. So the white lines are on a layer by themselves so that I can create color holds, which is the white line outlining Deadpool now. Because I figured if he's getting electrocuted, he's going to be glowing. And the best way to show glowing is a bright white line. White line for the outline. So once I had the color holds done with the white around Deadpool, I drew all of the electrical shock lines using a chalk brush, actually. Once again, just to give it a little more texture and flair. Then once I had all the electrical lines done, I used a screen layer above everything and airbrushed in a super light blue, an electric light blue, if you will, to make it look like he's just really getting shocked and giving that effect and helping that effect really pop off the screen or the page of the poster, with a few little highlights on the edge, like some of the higher points, like the tips of the toes, tips of the boots, the fingertips, give it a little more extra shock. And then the light bulbs, I said they were just drawn separately, then copied, pasted around. And then a little orange flare set to screen was popped in over them to give them a glowy effect. So that was about 12 hours of work, 11, 12 hours. Because once I finish coloring, then I have to go through the CMYK conversion process to make sure the colors will print correctly. And since this is going to be used as a gigantic poster and little postcards and digitally and on a billboard, I had to make sure the colors were going to remain consistent across all media. So it was about 12 hours total. Not too bad. I was expecting it to take a lot longer, so I was very happy with 12 hours. I was gassed, actually. And this is the final result. It looks good digitally, but printed on the poster, it looks phenomenal. It really does. So that is how the Deadpool's Christmas Vacation illustration came about. Neat.